It was a perfect day on planet Viridia. The twin suns were shining, the royal flags were flying. The grand palace sparkled like crystal. Everyone was ready for the biggest wedding in the galaxy. Princess Zira stood behind a tall silver mirror. Her dress shimmered like starlight. Her hair was tied with glowing threads, but her face showed no joy. Her eyes held fear. This was not her choice. She never loved the man waiting at the altar. He was powerful, rich, and cold. His name was Lord Kale, son of the Prime Minister. The wedding was political, a deal between two great houses. A trade of power, not love. Outside the palace, people cheered. Inside, Zira felt trapped. She turned to her mother, Commander Velna, who stood silently beside her. Velna was a war hero, a commander of the Galactic fleet. Strong, respected, feared. Zera whispered, "Do I have to do this?" Velna looked at her daughter. For a moment, the commander's face softened. But then her voice returned to its cold tone. "This is duty. We all have roles to play." Zira looked down. Her voice broke. "Did you marry for love?" Velna did not answer. She turned away and walked to the window. Her mind went far back, to a time before the war, to a time when she loved someone forbidden. A human, but that part of her life was locked away. Even Zira did not know that the wedding clock was ticking. In 2 hours the ceremony would begin. Zira's hands were shaking. She could not breathe. Suddenly, a soft voice spoke through a hidden speaker. "Commander Velna, we found it." Velna's eyes turned sharp. "Prepare the ship, quietly." Zira looked up. "What's going on?" Velna walked over and held her daughter's face gently. "You asked if I ever loved. I did, and I lost everything for it. I won't let the same happen to you." Zira blinked. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we leave now." Zira's heart raced. "Leave? The planet?" Velna nodded. "Trust me." Without another word, Velna pressed a button on her wristband. The mirror opened like a door. A secret tunnel stood behind it. Zira stared, frozen. "This is madness," she whispered. "No," Velna replied. "This is freedom." The two women disappeared into the tunnel. At the same time, the palace was preparing for the ceremony. Guests arrived in floating pods. Drones filmed every step. The royal band played soft music. But something felt strange. The bride was missing. An hour passed. Panic spread among the staff. The wedding hall stood empty. Lord Kale waited at the altar, angry and confused. The palace AI scanned the area and raised the alarm. Princess Zira and Commander Velna were gone. In the control room, security officers tried to track them, but it was too late. A small stealth ship had left the royal hangar. No one saw it on the cameras. The ship flew low, dodged the defense grid, and vanished into deep space. Across the galaxy, on a damaged Earth orbit station, a man sat alone. He was watching old Earth news on a broken screen. His name was Jace, former soldier. Now a shadow. Living in silence, his scanner beeped. A signal, faint but familiar. Jace looked at the screen. His eyes narrowed. It can't be her. He stood up slowly. The signal came from Viridia space. A royal code. One he thought was gone forever. Back on Viridia, the news spread like wildfire. The princess ran away, with her own mother. And no one knew why. The royal council held a secret meeting. Lord Kale demanded answers. The prime minister called it a betrayal. The king stayed silent. Only one message was broadcast to the galaxy. Princess Zira is missing. If you see her or Commander Velna, report at once. Do not approach. They are armed and dangerous. But no one knew the full truth. No one knew why Velna really ran. No one knew who they were going to find. And no one expected what would happen next. The ship moved through black space like a ghost. No sound, no trail. Just speed. Inside, Princess Zira sat near the window. Her hands rested on her lap, but her mind raced. Stars blinked past her. She had never left her planet before. She had never broken a rule before. And now she was a fugitive. Across the room, Commander Velna stood at the controls. Her eyes were sharp, her hands steady. She knew the risks. This path could not be reversed. But something deeper pulled her forward. Where are we going? Zira asked. Earth, Velna said without turning. Zira blinked. Earth? That's a dead planet. Not completely, Velna replied. Some still survive there. Zira stood up. She walked toward her mother. Why Earth? Why now? Velna looked at her daughter. Because someone is waiting. Far below, in the ruins of old North America, the sky flickered with strange colors. A quiet bunker sat under broken metal towers. Inside, Jace cleaned an old pulse rifle. His hands were rough. His eyes carried years of pain. A sharp beep came from the console. The signal was close now. He stared at the screen. She's coming. Outside the bunker, the wind carried dust across dead roads. Buildings leaned like skeletons. The world had changed after the war. Many have left Earth. The few who stayed lived like ghosts. Back on the ship, Zira found an old photo inside a metal drawer. It showed a younger Velna, smiling. Beside her was a human man. Tall, dark hair. A scar across his jaw. Zira held up the photo. Is this him? Velna took the picture gently. He saved my life. Twice, and I left him without a word. Zira's voice dropped. He's my father? Velna paused. Then nodded. Yes, Zira's knees felt weak. She sat down slowly. You said he died. I lied. Silence filled the room. The ship moved closer to Earth. Why now? Zira asked. Velma's voice was quiet. Because war is coming. And the galaxy will choose sides again. We need someone who knows both worlds. Someone they trust. Zira looked confused. Me? Velna nodded. If you choose it. The ship pierced Earth's atmosphere. Fire flashed across the hull. The controls shook. But Velna kept her grip strong. This planet was broken, but not finished. They landed in a field of metal bones, crashed ships, burnt machines, old war tech. Zira stepped out first. The air was heavy, cold, but Alive.jse watched them from a distance through a cracked scope. He saw Velna, older now, but the same fire in her eyes, and beside her a girl. No, not a girl. His daughter. He walked toward them with slow steps, not sure if it was real. Not sure if he should speak. Velna turned. Their eyes met. Years fell between them in 1 second. Zira stepped forward. You're Jace? He nodded. She stared at him. I'm Zira. Jace smiled. Just a little, I know. Suddenly, a sharp buzz came from Velna's wristband. Red light flashed. They found us. Zira looked around. Who? Jace stepped in front of her. Bounty hunters. They track royal DNA. Velna raised her weapon. Then we move, now. The three of them ran into the ruins. Above them, hidden in the clouds, a black ship circled the area. A masked figure watched the ground below. His voice was cold. Target locked. Princess located. He pressed a button. And dropped from the sky. The sky ripped open as the bounty hunter dropped through the clouds like a spear. Jace didn't wait. He grabbed Zira's hand and pulled her behind the wrecked engine tower. Velna moved fast beside them, her eyes scanning for attack. The hunter landed hard. Metal boots crushed the ground. His mask lit up. He didn't speak. He didn't hesitate. He opened fire. Blue blasts burned through the ruins. Zira ducked behind broken steel. Her heart pounded. She had trained in palace defense. Drills, but this was different. This was real. Jace rolled across the ground, raised his rifle, and fired back. The shot hit the hunter's shield and bounced off. He's armored, Jace said. We need to break his line of sight. Velna tapped her wristband. A small drone rose from her belt and flew toward the hunter, flashing bright lights. Move. She shouted. They ran, through the wreckage, past old fighter jets buried in sand. Zira's legs burned. Her mind raced. Why was she trusting this human? Why was he fighting like he had nothing to lose? They reached a hidden door behind a collapsed tower. Jace punched a code. The door opened into a dark hallway lit by backup lights. Inside, the air was thick and dusty. Walls were covered in old war maps. Rusted weapons lined the shelves. This was no home. This was a memory. Zera looked around. You live here? I survive here, Jace replied. Velna stepped forward. Her voice had changed, softer. I didn't think you'd still be on Earth. Jace looked at her. Where else would I go? After you left, I became a ghost. Zera stood between them, confused and tense. Someone explain what's going on. Jace took a breath. Your mother and I fought in the uprising. We were both soldiers, both leaders. She came from the stars. I came from the ground. We had nothing in common. He paused, but we trusted each other. Until the day she vanished. Velna looked away. I was ordered to return. The war was ending. My people didn't want peace. They wanted silence. Zera stepped back. You abandoned him. Velna nodded once. Yes, and I've lived with that choice every day. Jace's eyes never left her. You left more than me. He turned to Zera. You were just a baby when she brought you back to Viridia. I thought I'd never see you again. Zera stared at both of them. Her hands trembled. You're strangers. Both of you. Jace walked to a drawer. He pulled out a small device and handed it to her. This is your birth tag. I kept it, just in case. Zera held it in her hand. It glowed faintly. Her name was carved into it in 2 languages. One alien, one human. Behind them, Velna watched the entrance. The hunter was still out there, waiting. This conversation can't happen now, she said. He'll find us again. Jace nodded. There's a tunnel under the bunker. It leads to the old city. We can lose him there. Zera didn't move. You both kept secrets from me. Lied to me. Now you want me to run with you again? Velma stepped closer. This isn't about lies anymore. It's about survival, Jace added, and maybe more than that. Zera looked between them. Her whole world had changed in one day. She closed her hand around the birth tag. Fine, but after this, I want answers. They moved fast, down the tunnel. The sound of metal footsteps echoed above them. The hunter had entered the bunker. In the dark, Velna whispered to Jace, Why are you still helping me? Jace replied without looking at her, Because I never stopped. The tunnel was cold and silent, except for their footsteps. Every echo felt like a memory chasing them. Zera walked in the middle. Jace led the way with a flashlight, and Velna followed behind, hand on her weapon. Dust floated in the air like ghosts. No one spoke for a while. Then Zera broke the silence. Why did you fight a war no one remembers? Jace kept walking. His voice was calm, because it mattered then, even if it doesn't now. Zera looked over her shoulder. And what about you, Mother? Why did you join him? Velna didn't answer at first. Her voice came after a pause. I didn't join him. I joined the truth. They reached a wider chamber under the ruins. The walls were cracked, covered with names, scratched in different languages. Jace turned on a small light. It glowed soft blue. A war map flickered to life on the wall. Cities, fleets, battles, long forgotten. Zera turned slowly, taking it in. This was real. Jace nodded. This was where the rebellion was born. And buried. Velna stepped forward. She touched one name on the wall. Her hand trembled. I lost 20 soldiers here, all for trying to stop the execution of a peace envoy. My people called it weakness. I called it murder. Zera stepped beside her. You never told me any of this. You were raised to believe We were noble, Velna said. But we weren't. We were afraid. Of humans, of change. She turned toward Jace. He showed me what courage looked like, not on the battlefield, but off it. When he stood between a child and a laser rifle. That's when I knew. Zira stared at them both. And then you left. Velna nodded. My orders were clear. Return or be branded a traitor. I chose duty. I thought I could protect you from exile. From the life I had. Zira stepped back. You didn't protect me. You erased half of me. Jace looked away. His jaw tightened. She's right. Suddenly, a soft alarm buzzed on the wall. Jace checked the monitor. He's below us now. Digging through the tunnels. We have maybe 10 minutes. Velna reached into her bag and pulled out a thin black case. Inside was a shard of strange crystal, glowing faint purple. Zer. Leaned in. What is that? It's the key to the archives. Proof of what happened during the rebellion. And why the Royal Council destroyed every record. Jace added, with that shard, you can show the galaxy the truth. But only if you survive. Zira touched the crystal. It was warm. But why me? Velna met her eyes. Because they still believe I'm the enemy. But you're the heir, the royal bloodline. If you speak, they'll listen. Zira shook her head. I'm not ready for that. No one ever is, Jace said. Not before it's too late. The ground rumbled. Dust fell from the ceiling. He's here, Velna said. We hold him off. Zira, take the crystal. Go through the escape shaft behind the wall. Follow it to the surface. Zira hesitated. I'm not leaving you again. Jace stepped closer. You're not running. You're continuing the fight. The right way. Velna placed the crystal in her daughter's hand. No matter what happens to us, you must reach the resistance on Mars Colony 9. They're waiting. Zira's voice cracked. Will I see you again? Velna smiled for the first time in years. I hope not. That would mean you're safe. Jace pressed a hidden switch. A wall panel slid open, revealing a narrow path leading upward. Zira stepped into the tunnel. Before she left, she looked back one last time. 2 warriors stood in the dark, not as rebels or parents, but as guardians. The wall closed behind her. And the hunter broke through the door. The tunnel was shrinking behind her. Cold wind touched Zira's face as she climbed toward the surface. For the first time in her life, she was alone. No guards, no cameras, no palace walls. Just dirt, old earth dirt. She stepped out through a broken hatch and found herself in the middle of a wrecked city. Rusted towers leaned over cracked streets. Empty cars stood like fossils. The sky was covered in thick gray clouds. Somewhere in the distance, thunder growled. She didn't know where to go. But she knew who was chasing her. She moved fast, keeping low. Every step echoed off concrete and metal. She tried to remember the directions Jace gave her. Find the red bridge. Follow the rail tracks. Stay off the scanners. But the city was bigger than she imagined. And something felt off. She stopped behind a fallen sign and pulled out the crystal. It still glowed softly in her palm. This was the proof her mother had risked everything for. The story no one wanted told. And now it was hers to carry. Suddenly, a voice rang through a small earpiece in her ear. One her mother had placed there before they split. Zira, do you read me? It was Velna's voice, sharp and urgent. I'm here, Zira whispered. Don't respond again. They're tracing signals. Just listen. Static crackled. Then, we're holding him for now. You need to reach Outpost Echo. Coordinates are loading to your tracker. From there, someone will pick you up. Trust no one. The voice cut out. Zira looked at the tiny tracker on her wrist. A red arrow blinked, pointing north. Distance, 19 kilometers. Before she could move, she heard a sound behind her. A hover bike, not military, smaller, civilian. She ducked. The bike zoomed past, then slowed. Turned back. The rider wore a mask but no armor. His voice crackled through an old speaker. You lost? Zira didn't answer. Looks like you don't belong here, he said. She stayed quiet, ready to run. Then the rider lifted his hands. No weapons, just a courier. I help people for a price. Zira stepped out slowly. I don't have credits. I don't need credits, he said. I need a story. Zira narrowed her eyes. What kind of story? The kind that gets someone like you hunted. She didn't move. Why help me? The rider pulled off his mask. He was young, human maybe. 20. His left eye was robotic. Because I used to believe in the royal system. Until they took my brother for speaking the truth. Zira looked at him again. A rebel, but not a soldier. A survivor, like Jace. She made a choice. I need to get to Outpost Echo. He nodded and pointed to the back of his bike. Then hold on. They sped through the broken streets. Wind tore through her hair. She felt every bump, every turn. Behind them, a black drone zipped into the sky. It scanned the area. Red lights flashed. A duct. They found us. The courier smiled. Good, I was getting bored. He twisted the controls. The bike shot off a ramp and flew across a broken bridge. The drone fired. Sparks flew past their heads. Zira held tighter. They landed hard on the other side. The bike skidded, but kept going. The drone turned, locked on again. Zira reached into her belt. One flare bomb. She pulled the pin, waited 2 seconds, and threw it behind them. A flash of light. The drone's sensors went blind. It crashed into a power pole and exploded. The bike kept going. They didn't speak for the next 10 minutes. They passed fields of scrap metal, overgrown rail tracks, and hollow buildings. Finally, the courier stopped near a ruined watchtower. That's as far as I go. Zira stepped off. How do you survive here? He looked at her. Same way you will. Don't stop moving. And don't forget who you are. Then he drove off, disappearing into the ruins. Zira climbed the tower alone. At the top, an old satellite dish blinked once. A green light. She had reached the outpost. Now all she could do was wait. Asterisk, the royal fleet arrived without warning. 12 warships dropped out of warp above Earth's orbit, their engines glowing like angry suns. Each one carried enough firepower to flatten continents. Their formation was tight, clean, cold. At the center of it all, the largest ship hovered like a judgment. The royal flagship, Vokros, polished black and gold, covered in the symbol of House Vel Tar. Inside the command deck, King Varek stood before the main window. His cloak flowed behind him. His face showed no emotion, but his voice was ice. Find my daughter. His second-in-command nodded and began scanning Earth's surface. Back on the planet, Velna and Jace were trapped in the tunnels. The bounty hunter was gone, but not defeated. They were injured, tired, out of time. Velna leaned against a broken wall, holding her side. Blood stained her uniform. Jace crouched beside her. You're hit. I've had worse, she said. You can't fight like this. I don't plan to. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small data cube. It blinked red. Jace's eyes narrowed. That's a beacon. Not just any beacon. One tied to my royal ID. If I activate it, the fleet will come directly to me. Jace frowned. Then you just gave away our location. Exactly, she said. They think I'm the problem. Let them find me. And Zira? She has the crystal. She has the truth. We just have to buy her enough time. On the surface, Zira sat alone in the watchtower. The green light blinked again. A signal came through her earpiece. Unknown voice. Female. Calm. This is Resistance Command. Identify. Zira took a breath. I am Princess Zira of House Velthar. I have proof of royal war crimes. I request asylum and full broadcast clearance. The Fiendin. Voice paused. You're on Earth. Your father's fleet is above you. If we take your message, we become a target. Zira stood tall, despite the fear in her chest. Then make your choice. But understand this, if they silence me now, they'll silence the whole planet next. Another pause. Then, transmission window open in 5 minutes. In orbit, King Virex received a report. Your daughter has gone live. She's using the Resistance's satellite. Message is uploading. Virex's comm finally cracked. Shut it down. We can't. The message is bouncing across 20 systems. If we stop one signal, 10 more take its place. He clenched his fists, then burned the source. Back on the ground, Resistance guards reached Zira's tower. One handed her a mic device. You have 1 shot. After this, they'll come for all of us, Zira nodded. Her hands didn't shake. She stepped into the center of the tower. A light turned on. The camera began to roll. The galaxy watched. This is not a rebellion. This is a confession. She spoke clearly, calmly, about her mother's exile, the hidden war, the forced marriage, the lies told in the name of peace. Then she held up the glowing crystal. This holds the truth your kings buried. The names of those who were erased, the orders they denied, the people they silenced. Resistance commanders stared at the feed. In shock. In orbit, Virex's face turned pale. Velna, deep in the tunnels, smiled weakly. She did it. Jace helped her sit up. She's your daughter. The message ended, and silence filled the galaxy. Then something strange happened. One of the royal ships pulled back from formation. Then another dot, and another dot. Not all captains were loyal anymore. Some remembered the war. Some had seen too much. Virex saw it too. Who gave the order to retreat? No one answered. He turned to his second. Prepare to fire. But before the order could be confirmed, a message blinked on his console. King Virex, you are under investigation for war crimes. Power has been temporarily removed by Joint Fleet Protocol. His own fleet had turned on him. The flagship's weapons powered down. Back on Earth, Zira looked to the sky. No bombs, no fire. Just light breaking through the clouds for the first time that day. She closed her eyes. The war was not over, but the silence was. The world was quiet. No sirens, no drones, no engines in the sky. Just wind, moving through broken buildings and dry trees. For the first time in weeks, Earth could breathe. Zira sat alone on the edge of a collapsed roof. Below her, the Resistance was rebuilding the outpost. People carried supplies, wired communications, cleared debris. It was not a royal palace, but it felt alive. In her hand, she still held the crystal, no longer glowing. Its message had been heard. Behind her, footsteps. Familiar ones. Jay stood beside her, arms crossed, watching the workers below. They're calling you the Truthbringer, he said. Zira gave a small smile. I didn't ask for that. Most people who deserve titles never do. She looked at him. The scar on his jaw. The tired eyes. The years lost. You could lead them, she said. I already did. Once. And it cost everything. You don't trust yourself? I don't trust power, he said. But I trust you. Silence again. Then another voice. Velna appeared. Walking slowly, wrapped in a bandage across her ribs. You spoke like a queen, she said. Zira stood. I'm not a queen. Velna looked at her daughter. Not yet. Later that day, they gathered on the surface. No throne, no golden robes. Just people, human, alien, half-blood, soldier, farmer, all standing together. A makeshift platform was built. From old shuttle wings, Zira stood at the center. The air was heavy with expectation. She looked out across the crowd. Then up at the sky. Warships were gone. Satellites shimmered above, carrying her message to every corner of the galaxy. She Spoke without notes. Without fear. I was born a royal, trained to obey. Taught to hide my questions. But I chose something different. She raised the crystal. This is not a weapon. It is memory. And memory is what empires fear most. She stepped down. People didn't cheer. They stood in silence, then nodded, one by one. A wave of silent agreement. Later that night, Velna sat by a fire. She watched Zira from a distance, surrounded by engineers, translators, and planners. She wasn't giving orders. She was asking questions. She's not like me, Velna said. Jace sat beside her. Double quotes. No, she's better. The next morning, messages began to arrive. From Mars, from Titan, from the outer colonies, from Viridia itself. Some offered peace. Some asked for help. Others asked for forgiveness. By the end of the week, Zira was officially named interim speaker of the Human Alliance Charter. Not a queen. Not a puppet. A bridge. She returned to the place where it all began, the ruins of the bunker where her parents reunited, where the hunter had fallen, where her choice had begun. She placed the crystal deep into the ground. No vault. No shrine, just soil. Some stories are not meant to be locked away. Some truths must grow. And in that quiet moment, under a silver sky, Zira walked forward, not as a runaway, not as a soldier, but as something new.